Hello, everybody. Welcome back to In the Trenches. My name is Ian Beckles, and hope everybody is doing well. Before we get this podcast going, I've got to send out the love to Manny and Gordon, and they make this possible. And go check them out. They're the best. They're the best in town. And I want to get into this whole creative loafing thing, and it's on the horizon. But you're going to hear a little bit more about it. But Manny and Gordon, they're the best at what they do. Okay. Let's get to the Buccaneers. Our beloved Buccaneers are 2-0. We should all be rejoicing, but when you hear the tone of Buccaneer fans, there's concern in your voice, and there should be concern because, we're winning despite, and that happens at times, but you just can't keep on winning despite. And the Bucs are winning despite not playing great this year. And I think in ways that's a sign of a good football team or a talented football team. And I think this Buccaneers team is a talented football team that hasn't played that great to this point, and we're still 2-0. So, you can look at a Giants team that's 0-2 and they're high-flying offensively, but it's about winning football games at the end. And we have a young man in Baker Mayfield who I know nobody thought Baker was going to do this on the way in. I didn't hear anybody say that because Baker is a top 7 quarterback in the NFL right now. As he speaks right now, we're talking about the last couple years. Since he got here to Tampa Bay, he's a top 7 quarterback in the entire NFL. I don't even think that's something we could debate at this time. But collectively, as a team, this Tampa Bay Buccaneers team, once again, this 2-0 team, number one, everything is going wonderfully. I usually put categories on my notes: offensive, defensive, special teams. Injuries was a category this week. And when injuries become a category, that's not good. All right? We already got into the season minus Chris Godwin, who at times last year was our number one. We've been gone to his first 2 games without Tristan Wirfs, who is a top 10 NFL player at any position, and we figured out ways to win. Those were good things. But when you start piling up other injuries, like McMillan, like a Gadecki, I can't think of a player who'd be worse than Gadecki to go down right now. Gadecki's playing great football, was playing great football. And we're talking about feet. I've said this before. I've had almost every injury. Feet are the worst thing for a lineman. It's going to be a long, long football season. Actually, the rest of your career may be long because feet are a son of a bitch. But we go into that game minus Tristan Wirfs, 3 guys out of position, figure out a way to win the game, lose Gadecki along the way. And that's just the offensive side of the ball. Okay. Vita Vea was questionable over his foot, and we're going to get into Vita Vea because I didn't think he played all that great. Then I wrote in my notes, Kalijah Kancey blowing stuff up in the first quarter. I wrote it right in my notes right there. Blowing stuff up. And next you know, he grabs his arm, and he comes out the game for a peck. And once again, as I think I don't have a doctorate, and I don't have a certificate, but I can almost be a doctor because I just know of injuries. Nobody's ever left a football game for a pec injury and come back that year. I've never seen it. If somebody leaves holding their pec and they think they tore their pec is torn, and your season is over. So the second I saw Kalijah Kancey go off holding his pec and they say a pec injury, I knew his season was done. And supposedly it's done. That's a big loss. I wasn't ready to say Kalijah Kancey was that great football player, but he was on his way. But you can only be great if you're on the football field getting better. Like, you could see progression, but if every time you see progression, you get hurt and you go away, it's going to be hard to ask for those big bucks when, your contract comes up. I think he has 2 more years on his contract, but when your contract comes up, it's going to be hard to ask for a bunch of money when you ain't there. So injury-wise, boy, we are getting thin, yo. We are getting really, really, really thin. Cody Mauch, if you were watching, was limping around all game and not playing great. The funny part is I know how the conversation went on the sideline. Gotta go, Cody. you got to go. Like Cody Mount can't come out. Like I don't know if the Buccaneers can afford one more injury on the offensive line. Not one. You know, if our center gets hurt right now, we're going to be in big, big trouble. So that's where we are. Now, talking about this game, I thought we played well enough defensively to win. I think at times we got lucky offensively. We left a couple things out there defensively for sure. Offensively, we got lucky in a few situations. Baker got lucky early on a couple interceptions that could have went the other way. You know, we got big plays from like Ryan Miller's and, you know, a Bucky had a nice game. But overall, I didn't like the way the offense looked. I really didn't. And, you know, Coach Grizzard is going to be under the microscope because he's calling plays for the first time. And, you know, there's certain things that stick out to me. There's certain things I love. Running the football I love because I know it pays off in the long run. And there's certain things that I hate. And there was something that he did last game that I hated. And I don't think anybody else would even notice this. It's the Bucs drive the ball down the field. They're running the ball. They're passing the ball. And we get to the 20-yard line. It's 1st and 10 on the 20-yard line. And you come out in empty set with no running backs. That's a mentality. You get down to the 20-yard line, that's when running the football is crucial. You're going to take all the running backs off the field or you're going to split them out? See, that doesn't make sense to me. That's a mentality. Now, on the next play, they ran a screen play, and I think it was Malk probably should have got a leg whip, but they get a touchdown. But I didn't like the play call on 1st and 10. And listen, when you come out of the game with 20 points, you know, you can't exactly pound your chest, especially when it took the last drive to get down there and score that last touchdown. And we'll get to Baker in a little bit, but there's certain things I just didn't like, you know, on that football field on Monday night. And, you know, we've had some people that are, you know, if you listen to this podcast on a regular, Rachaad White's one of my favorite football players on the Buccaneers, okay? If you see why he wasn't one of the unforgotten dudes, all right, last week, you guys forget about Rachaad. Rachaad is, I'm telling you, he's a big piece. And then when it's not running the football, you know, he's doing a great job pass protecting. And he's a tough son of a bitch. So there was some good things out there. Igbuka, 3 touchdowns in 2 weeks. That's great. Can't ask for more. As a whole, didn't think it was a good game as a wide receiver. There was a couple, you know, plays where I don't know if it was Baker being off or Igbuka being off, but they weren't on the same page. And we got to get more from him. Like 4 catches, the touchdowns are wonderful. Okay, if you're playing fantasy, great. But when all these cats down, we need some 6, 7, 8 catch games out there. And we can't depend on Ryan Miller's forever. That's not gonna keep going. And you know, the Bucs put themselves in some tough situations with the offensive line the way it was. That 4th and 10, where Baker scrambled and got the first down. When they watch the film in Houston, they're going to be sick to their stomach because they had the absolute perfect defense called. They had a blitz coming from the outside, a blitz coming from the inside, and Baker just made a play. And when I mean gamer, like when you say Baker's a gamer, put that play on because that was only Baker. It was the defense won, the defensive play call won, and Baker superseded that by just making a great athletic play, making a great decision, and getting them in the right situation. And not all quarterbacks have that. They just don't. I mean, that's an innate thing that some quarterbacks have and some don't. And in that situation, there's very few quarterbacks that are going to be better in that situation than Baker Mayfield because a lot of quarterbacks are big scramblers, but they're not great passers and vice versa. Baker's got a little of both. So we're just blessed to have Baker with us right now because without him, I'm not sure we would be 2-0. And listen, that was a perfect defense call by Houston, and Baker got his way out of it. It's good to see that, you know, I guess picking up the clock management guy. I guess the clock management guy's name is like Zach Baseline, something like that. He's doing a pretty darn good job. I haven't seen him blip yet as far as clock management goes. So, you know, that's been a wonderful thing for Todd Bowles. I think he tucked his pride a little bit and tucked his ego and said, you know, maybe we need a little help. And you try to concentrate more on the actual game. But I'm not seeing enough from our wide receivers in general, all right? And when we talk about offensive line play, you know, just a couple weeks ago I was saying if the Buccaneers scramble their offensive line and move three guys just because Heck can't play, Heck might not be good. Now we got Heck starting again. We've already established he's not good. Now Heck's gonna be starting, and we're gonna have three guys out of position. Therefore, there's 5 offensive linemen on the field. We have 3 linemen out of position, and Heck as the right tackle, and Cody Malk, who at the beginning of the year was probably our most questionable lineman, at right guard. So we really have 5 serviceable offensive linemen. Boy, it's hard to win with 5 serviceable offensive linemen. Our defense gonna have to step up. Defense is gonna definitely have to step up, and I thought they played well enough. I still need to see more, obviously. I love the way Todd Bowles mixes things up. You see Tyke Smith on the sack, which was nice to see. Levante David, still a solid football player. Dropped that interception in the 4th, which probably would have ended the game. I know it made him sick. Sebastian Dennis is still, I don't know if he's going to improve as a guy who's covering backside of the backfield. I just don't think it's his game. We've had guys like Quan Alexander wasn't great at it. Devin White wasn't super at it. He was all right. That's not Sebastian Dennis's expertise. That's not an easy thing to do, people. It really not. The shame of it is I like his aggression on the run plays, but he can't seem to cover anybody out of the backfield. And when you mess around and the next 2 weeks we were going to play, Breece Hall, and we're going to also play Saquon Barkley, could be tough sledding in there, okay? Could be real tough sledding. Now, I said earlier talking about losing Kalaji Kansi. Anytime you lose a starting a defensive tackle, it's a big deal. Now, Vita Vea's going to have to step up his game. I know Vita Vea is a crowd pleaser, and I actually like Vita Vea as a football player. I think you need a Vita Vea. I don't think he's healthy. I think there was questions about him going before the game. He went in the game, played. I watched him. He just didn't have any kick. He didn't have any explosion, and he just wasn't himself. And I don't know what the situation is, but the one knock we've had on Vita Vea is, his health. And now we're in week 3, and we're bitching and moaning about his health already with our other defensive tackle who's out. So at some time, Vita Vea is going to have to step things up, okay? Because the Buccaneers are going to need him for sure going forward. McLaughlin's 38-yard field goal, can't miss that. You mess around and miss a couple more, and then they're going to have people here on Tuesday on the day off working out. That's the way it works. But kicker's a funny position. I mean, he's a kid that made almost all his kicks last year. Kicker's a funny position because sometimes you miss 2-3 kicks and all of a sudden you're questioning yourself. And I just hope that's not the situation with him. Special teams wise, we had a punt return at the end of the game, which was nice, put us in a good situation. But the Jets are coming in town. Buccaneers are 2-0. After that's Philadelphia. So, you don't ever want to look forward, but Philadelphia is next, okay? So here's the long and short of it. You're 2-0, life looks good. You're on the top of the NFC South. But you mess around and lose to a Jets team at home that you should beat, and there's a good chance you're being 2-2 the next week. So you don't want to say must win and all these kind of things like this, but if the Buccaneers think that they're that team that's going to go on and make some noise, the Jets are a type of team you have to beat at home. And I don't know if football is going to be all that pretty going forward. I just don't. I think right now, as beat up as this offense is, as many names as this offense is missing, we haven't seen anything from Kate Otten. It's just there's a lot missing right now. And I think Todd Bowles is doing a wonderful job right now of just figuring out ways to win. But you just can't. You're not going to keep on being able to sneak them out like that. But right now, we have to enjoy it while we can. We are 2-0, and like I said, if there's any way Bucs could figure out to be 3-0, life is good. You go 3-0, you're going to make the playoffs the majority of the time. But if you mess around and lose this game, we could be 2-0 real quick. If you're looking for somewhere to watch the game, we're always hanging out here at Dignitary Cafe. They got a big old screen in the back. We're 420 friendly if people want to hang out. And it's a lot of knowledge back here. Learn some things here as you're watching the football game. So the Buccaneers, it's Celebration Wednesday since the game was Monday. I had some things going on yesterday, so I appreciate everybody listening into In the Trenches, and we're 2-0. Life is good. Everybody have a wonderful week, and please be safe. Thank you to Manny and Gordon. Peace out, everybody.
You know, some lawyers want to look like superheroes on a billboard, but which lawyers are regarded as superheroes in the courtroom? Trust the expertise of board certification.
Call Manny and Gordon or visit us at fightnegligence.com.